mindfulness has swept through the Western world, to America, Canada, and Europe. Here in the United Kingdom, we actually have a national health program for mindfulness. I want to express some concerns that I know are shared both in the psychological community and in the Buddhist community from which mindfulness was developed. And I'm going to start by reading a couple of extracts from this book here, which is called The Buddha Pill, written by Dr. Miguel Farias and Dr. Catherine Wickholm, who are both psychologists. Dr. Farias has done a fairly significant study of meditation. They are themselves both meditators, so they're not people who are attacking meditation. They are trying to understand what mindfulness is and whether it is the sort of cure-all that it's being promoted to be. So firstly, and I think this is Dr. Farias talking. They don't make it clear, they speak in the first person throughout the book, so you have to guess which of the authors it is. He says, I felt dismayed. Despite the anecdotal evidence on the merits of mindfulness meditation, and despite the hundreds of studies produced in the last 20 years, there was no robust scientific evidence that mindfulness has any substantial effect on our minds and behaviours. It was strange to come to this conclusion. I'd grown up believing in mind-over-body effects, and that meditation was the queen of techniques when it came to personal change. So that's the first point to make. No robust scientific evidence. If you look to the Wikipedia page, you'll be bombarded with the notion that there is robust scientific evidence. This man is in a position to have done this because he and his graduate students went through hundreds of studies relating to meditation. Further, I am concerned that the science of meditation is promoting a skewed view. Meditation wasn't developed so we could lead less stressful lives or improve our well-being. Its primary purpose was much more radical: to rupture your idea of who you are, to shake to the core your sense of self so that you realise there is nothing there. But that's not how we see meditation courses promoted in the West. Here, meditation has been revamped as a natural pill that will quieten your mind and make you happier. And finally, it's a very interesting book and well worth reading, by the way. One of the authors spoke with Ambikananda, who is a meditation guru. I'm certain about the exact value of mindfulness, Ambikananda told me. Since it's moved out of the monastic environment to the wider secular world, meditation is being sold as that which will not only make us feel better, but will make us better people, more successful, stronger, convincing. I interrupted her. But are you aware that some researchers are claiming that mindfulness meditation per se can turn you into a better, more compassionate person? No, 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 she stressed. Meditation needs to be embedded in its context. There are moral and emotional guidelines to be followed. My own first encounter with meditation was at the age of 18. I spent a few days in a Zen monastery, which sounds pretty exotic, but it wasn't. It was in the north of England, in the middle of nowhere. It's called Throstle Hole Priory. It's a proper Soto Zen monastery, founded by G.U. Kennett. And I went there in the latter part of 1973 and learned the Zazen meditation. I did a follow-up with a meditation teacher approved by the monastery when I was in Cornwall. And for the best part of a year, I practiced Zazen meditation twice a day, most days, for about 20 minutes. And I found it interesting. But it became evident to me from the very beginning that profound experiences can occur during meditation. So, I mean, I've continued some form of meditation or other ever since, but I tend more to sit or even lie in a very relaxed position and listen to very gentle music because I am concerned about some of the fixing effects of meditation. Let me explain that a little bit. There is something called the Ganzfeld effect. This is when you stare at something and your brain will begin to fill in material because nothing is moving and nothing is changing. It's perfectly natural. In fact, if you stare at a white wall for a few minutes and you don't experience changes of colour in your visual field, there could well be something wrong with you. This effect also obtains in some ways towards our hearing, so that if you're in a completely darkened room, within a few minutes you will start to sense movement and you will hear noises, perhaps very slight. This is sort of the feedback of the brain itself that's happening. If people are unaware of this and they're introduced to some meditation technique, then they may well believe that something miraculous or quite remarkable has happened to them. But it is a normal physiological effect. My concern is that during meditation, there can be very powerful experiences. It's certainly recorded that where meditation is, for example, used for depression, which has become a commonplace, and as I say, the National Health Service in the United Kingdom has its own department selling mindfulness as a cure for depression, as a cure for anxiety, as a way of easing pain. And while it may be capable of doing this in certain cases, the problem is that if you study mindfulness meditation or Soto Zen or Vipassana meditations within the Japanese and Tibetan traditions from which mindfulness derives, then there'll be somebody on hand who's very experienced, who knows what to do if you start getting upset or find yourself falling into a deep well. Let me say that my first experience of meditation was really quite remarkable. That I found, the idea in Zazen is that you let go of thought. You don't try to stop thinking. You just let go of your thoughts. And I found that it was as if I was looking down upon language that was going on inside my head. And below the top layer, there was another layer of language, and below that layer, there was a third layer of language. And I got to 4 layers of thinking that were happening in words inside my mind, what some people would call the unconscious mind. I'm not so sure that it is. And that was very useful to me, to realise that there's this clutter of thinking going on in my head, and it's a good idea to calm down and try and focus deeply, which I think probably many people never do. I've found with years of meditating that I'm able to sometimes briefly switch off the flow of language going through my head, and that's a good and calm place. But this is just a very short statement to say that I have a deep concern that mindfulness is being practiced without proper supervision. And I think if you're interested in mindfulness, it would be a good idea to find somebody who's a reputable teacher of meditation. And there are problems here as well. There are terrible sexual scandals in the Tibetan Buddhist community. I know nothing of anything that's occurred within the Dalai Lama's surroundings in this regard, but it certainly, in American Tibetan Buddhism, there have been scandals involving sexual abuse. This is because of the practice of Tantric Buddhism, the belief that enlightenment can be obtained through sexual practices, which is kept largely hidden. But I would make very sure that you're not joining a group that uses Tantra if you wish to practice meditation. It's also true, my friend Stephen Hassan has criticised the Soto Zen tradition as practiced through Dio Kennett's school and the former president of her association has spoken out against her, suggesting that Soto Zen has become cultic in its practice. So if you're looking for a meditation teacher, read about meditation, read the Buddha Pill, and understand that it may well help you, but you do need to be careful about the strength of effect it can have upon you. Thank you very much. I'm John Azar.